Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here this morning. My name is Adam Trider from the Center of Excellence for Energy at our Department of Education and Early Childhood Development. And we're very excited this morning to host a day-long series of webinars celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. This event was originally scheduled for February, but was canceled or postponed to a province-wide snow day. So we're really excited to bring you a day full of speakers from the science and technology world to share some of their experiences and career pathways with you this morning. I'll start by starting with a territorial acknowledgement. So we are on the traditional unceded territory of the Wolastoqey, Mi'kmaq, and Beskado-Magadi peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which these nations first signed with the British Crown back in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey title and established rules for what was meant to be an ongoing relationship between the nations. We pay respect to the elders, past and present, and descendants of this land, and we honor the knowledge keepers and seek their guidance as we strive to develop closer relationships with the Indigenous peoples of New Brunswick. We are very pleased this morning to be joined by a host of faculty from the New Brunswick Community College. I'll do some introductions and then turn the mic over to you for the presentation. So this morning we have Kasey Gignac, who is an instructor in the School of Engineering Technologies at NBCC. She graduated from Dalhousie with a Bachelor of Civil Engineering, and upon graduation gained 8 years of industry experience in consulting while working as a structural engineer for a large multidisciplinary consulting firm. During this time, she earned professional engineering designation and had the opportunity to work in many challenging heavy civil and marine projects. She transitioned her career to begin working at NBCC as a lead structural instructor in late 2016. And she loves having the opportunity to bring her industry experience to the classroom and enjoys the fast-paced and ever-changing environment that teaching offers. We also have Tara Fife-Hitchcock this morning with us, coordinating instructor for the School of Engineering Technologies at NBCC. And Tara started her journey at St. Thomas University, graduating with a double major in gender studies and sociology, and then continued to NBCC to become an architectural technologist, allowing her to be in the engineering field for 18 years. Switching careers, she now teaches students how to design buildings with computer-aided drafting programs such as AutoCAD and Rivet. She enjoys teaching with technology because it's always changing. She always accepts new challenges to increase her potential. And if you don't challenge yourself, you'll never realize what you can become. Sarah Publicover-Lloyd is an instructor with the Environmental Technology Program at NBCC in Miramichi. She has a Bachelor of Science degree with a double major in Geology and Geography from St. Mary's University and a Master's of Marine Management from Memorial. She's a registered member of the NB Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists. And we also have Saba Fatima with us this morning, who's an instructor with the Electrical and Electronics Technology Program in St. John. She has a master's degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and Saba has industrial experience from Toronto and is a former electronics instructor from the UAE, where she supervised senior projects. She has a passion for helping students reach their potential through learning by doing. And that's one of our mottos here at DECD as well. So we're very excited to have you with us this morning, ladies, and excited to hear from you about your experiences.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, go ahead, Saba.
Hey. Hi, everyone. My name is Saba, and I work at NBCC St. John campus. I have a master's degree in electrical and electronics engineering from an Indian university. Ever since I was a kid, I was curious about electronic stuff. I love to see what was inside those noise-making toys and try to fix them. From simple tasks like changing batteries and to changing damaged cables in our portable water heater, I was my family's handy girl. I was a pretty good all-rounder at school, and for university studies, I opted for engineering because I was interested in how things worked. I liked the logic, and to be honest, not many girls did engineering, and I wanted to be a bit different. After I graduated, I moved to the UAE, and my very first job was to teach. Okay, Right. So I moved to the UAE, and my very first job was to teach math to middle school students. And then very soon later, I was offered to teach at a college, and I taught and supervised many senior projects there. I love to mentor creative ideas which can help make this world a better place. My favorite project was where a solar panel was connected to a motor, and it can move and trace the sun and convert as much sunlight into electricity. So then back in 2019, I moved to Canada and I joined a PCB manufacturing company as a quality engineer. My job was to check if the product is meeting international and standard quality requirements, and then I had to go through some paperwork and through some checking. So that was my job back then. But I still missed teaching. So, I kept on applying for my college jobs, and I got an opportunity to get back on track with teaching at NBCC. So here at NBCC, I currently teach electronics, physics, and math. So I always tell my students that talented people in STEM skills are crucial for our planet's future. That's your future too. Like, you might end up exploring ways to feed the world sustainably, or you could play a part in inventing a new way to save water, energy, and time. Like, you can make a real difference to improve the lives of millions of people. So I would finally say that don't get caught up thinking about the jobs out there today. The job you end up doing may not even exist yet. So the world is changing at a pace so fast that in the past decade, like we have seen enormous industries such as cryptocurrency and social media rise from almost nothing. So so I think a foundation in a STEM subject is a great place to start. So that's my journey so far. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Saba. Okay, oh, sorry, I went too fast there. Okay, now it's my turn. My name is Tara. I'm currently an instructor at NBCC. I teach the Building Systems program, and that is a program that I took many, many years ago. As a role, when I was a child, my role model was my mother. She was a carpenter, and she was also a forest ranger, and so because she was in non-traditional roles, I thought it was very interesting. And also as a child, I looked at a lot of floor plans, a lot of design books, and I was constantly planning out what my future house would look like. In high school, I must say it wasn't easy because I wanted to do different things compared to my other female friends. So if you were different at all, and I'm sure it's still the same way, people tended to pick on you. But alas, that made me a stronger person, and I aspired to be an architect. So to become that, I had to apply to, I had to have a university for two years. So I went to St. Thomas, and that's where I got my degree in gender studies. And then I applied to become an architect in Nova Scotia, but that didn't happen. I didn't have a good enough portfolio. So I didn't let that put me down. I decided to go to NBCC to be an architectural technologist. So within that, I took the building systems program, and I took that because I wanted to know more about buildings. I wanted to know how they worked inside and out. And I still do. I still love buildings. So I had no troubles finding a job once I was done the two-year program at NBCC, and I worked as an architectural technologist for over 18 years. I love my career choice. It was always a challenging one. It was forever changing. As Saba was saying, the technology, it changes all the time, and we have to keep up with it because we have to build buildings for people to reside in. So my best job during my 18 years in industry was working for Co-op Atlantic, and there I oversaw construction of low-income homes commercial buildings such as banks and grocery stores, large apartment buildings. Here in the slide, you'll see a picture of a building that I helped design and inspect, and that was a cooperative house, and it gained a LEED certification, and that is a sustainability program for buildings, and it was one of the first in New Brunswick. So that was a proud moment for me to receive that certification for that building. And today, when I walk into buildings, the buildings still are LEED certified, but it depends on how well they did during their process. So that it's a great sustainability tool to learn, and it's not going away. It's something that will predominate our future. So when I did design the buildings, it was my job to do the drawings, and then I had to go to the job site, and I had to make sure that the people who were building it were abiding to the drawings that I had. So I had to know what I was drawing, and then I had to do the inspections during construction and at the end of the building as well. So unfortunately, the company I was working for at that time went out of business, so I decided to try my hand at teaching. And because I had a broad knowledge in the different types of building practices, I was able to teach a lot of different types of courses. I currently teach students how to work AutoCAD and Revit, and I get them to draw commercial buildings. So all my life, I have taken many opportunities to expand my knowledge. If my work had provided an internal course, I'm usually one of the first ones to sign up, because I always want to self-improve myself. I always want to learn. The more that you learn, the more confident you become, and the more confident you are, the more successful you will be. For example, my college was offering a 1-week welding course, and as you see, there's a picture of me standing in amongst some other women as well. And this course was offered to only students, but I also wanted to take it. So once I found out there was a cancellation and there was a spot open, I was right there and told them that I wanted to take the course. So that's just an opportunity that I took, and I don't regret it. You always take on those opportunities to learn. So that's it for me, and then I'm going to pass it over to Kasey.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, thank you for having us here today. So as my little intro said, my name is Kasey Gignac. I'm a structural engineer. I'm a wife, and I'm a mom to 2 really cute little boys. So my current role or position is I'm in the building engineering technology program at NBCC. So I've had a couple of different roles in my career, and this is one that I feel I've found my place. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So the title of engineer itself, a lot of people, it's so broad. There's lots of different jobs within the field of engineering. You can tell people you're an engineer. A lot of people don't have a picture of what that really looks like. So I just wanted to give you a little idea of what that looks like for me. So as a structural engineer, you typically tend to work very closely with an architect, especially if you're focusing on buildings. So the job between the 2 of us is that we're trying to come up with all of the plans or the drawings, and come up with specifications, which are like guidelines, so that any structure, so building or bridge, whatever it is that we're designing and building, we want to ultimately make sure that they're safe. And by being safe, it means that they're going to follow the rules that all of our building codes that are put out across the country tell us to follow. So within that kind of really broad role, my focus as the structural engineer in that job would be I'm going to worry about calculating all the loads on a building. So buildings, we live in Atlantic Canada, so we have to account for how much snow is going to be on a building. We worry about the wind, we worry about earthquakes, so we calculate all of those loads. Oftentimes we're using some sort of software to model our buildings. So that software is going to tell us all of the stresses and the forces that are in our building. So we can take that information and we use that to design. So we're going to pick the sizes for all of the beams, the columns, the foundations, all of that, making sure that we're providing a safe structure or building in that case for you. So as an engineer, it's really our job to make sure that we can come up with the best kind of economical, practical, easy way to make all of that function together. And it's really important for us to find a good way to make our designs that we're doing in an office convey that to the contractor or the person that's on site building these buildings or these structures. So there's lots of different ways to end up where I am, or where all of us are in this discussion here today. So personally, my kind of pathway or my route that I took to get here, I graduated from high school, and then I went to Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So there I got my civil engineering degree. After I graduated, I went into the material testing and quality control kind of field. I spent a couple of years there. So I was doing things like doing concrete designs, designing asphalt for our roads, testing concrete and asphalt in the field, inspecting rebar in the field before they poured concrete on top of it. And then I got out of the material testing world and I went into what we call consulting. So when you're in consulting, you're more focused on the actual design process. So I spent about 7 or 8 years here, and in the consulting world, my focus was on heavy civil and marine. So when you say heavy civil, what does that mean? Everything that I designed for the most part is buried in the ground. No one sees it, but it's there and it's serving a really important function, and it's helping to give us things like clean water to drink and making sure that our bridges have something sound to stand on. So that's a lot of the things that I designed. I don't actually get the benefit of seeing it because they get buried. When I did my time in consulting, I feel like that's where I really gained all of my knowledge. I got to design things in concrete and wood and steel. And then I left consulting around the time that I was starting to have a family, and I joined the team at NBCC. And I feel this is my happy place. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I get to teach people, which is a passion of mine, but I get to do it in the topics that really interest me. So now I'm getting to teach people how to design things in concrete and timber and steel. And this is just where I'm personally meant to be. So I chose to take engineering out of high school because of where my interest lied. I was always really interested in construction, how things worked. I liked taking things apart. I walk into buildings, I look up. I'm always trying to figure out how things are working, why they're doing what they're doing. And I noticed my 6-year-old son actually did that the other day at swimming lessons. So I think he's going to be an engineer too. So in high school, I loved math, I loved physics. So I really just followed my interests. And I think that's so important. We shouldn't go into the careers we think we should. We need to follow our interests. So find what interests you and let that kind of dictate your path. We spend a lot of time in our chosen careers. We spend a lot of time working in our lives. So it's so nice to be able to spend that time doing something that you're really interested in. So if you find you're somebody that you feel a pull or you feel an interest towards these science or these STEM topics, if you're here listening to this discussion today, you probably have an interest in that. So that's kind of step one. And as you'll hear from all of us that are speaking today, we all kind of took different paths to get here, but we all ended up at the same employer. We're all working at NBCC now. So there's no one right way to find your career. Just let your interests lead you in the right direction. Any sort of STEM or science-based careers, particularly engineering, historically, they've been that we've lacked diversity. And one of the groups that we've lacked representation in is females, women. One of the best ways to improve that and make the field of engineering more inclusive is to have more women in it. So it's really encouraging to see days like this happening and discussions like this happening, because it's only going to get better from here. And if you are a female in high school listening to this presentation now or at a different point, I hope that I cross paths with you someday, and I hope that you find a career that you enjoy and are interested in, because that's really what it's all about. And that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, so I think I'm up next. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Sarah Publicover-Lloyd, and I am a professional geoscientist, and I'm currently teaching environmental technology at NBCC. So I guess the point of today is to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are in our career paths. So if I was to go back and think about my days in high school, I did well in math and science, but unlike Kasey, I would not say it was my passion. I didn't love math and science, but I did well in it. What I did love was being outdoors. I knew that I wanted a career that was not going to be at a desk every day. I knew I wanted to be moving around. I loved camping. I loved hiking. I loved fishing and all those other outdoor activities. And so for me, it was finding a way to tie that in. And I had no idea. I really didn't when I was in high school. And I'm sure you guys are feeling this now too, this pressure of deciding what your passion is, how you're going to find something that you love to do. My guidance counselor at the time, and I think they still do this quite frequently, it was, you're good at math and science, maybe you should look at nursing. And they even sent me as a co-op student to go to the hospital in Moncton where I grew up, and go to the hospital and follow the nurses around. And if that did one thing and one thing alone, it was to solidify the fact that I am not meant to be a nurse. I have tremendous amount of respect for them. It takes a very special person to be a nurse, and that's not me. I did not want that job. So I was struggling with what to take in university, and everybody was pushing science. So just go start with an undergrad in science. And okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I started looking around and started applying. And it was actually another student at the college or at my high school, and someone had suggested to him forestry engineering at UNB. And that got me in a whole spiral of looking at different programs similar to forestry engineering. I did apply at UNB for forestry engineering, and I was all set to go there. And then at the very last minute, I had also applied to St. Mary's University in Halifax for their environmental engineering program. And so it kind of branched off at this very last minute. I got an offer from St. Mary's University. They were going to give me a little bit more of an entrance scholarship. So I jumped ship from UNB and went to St. Mary's. And they didn't have much of an engineering program at the time. And so I ended up doing sort of sciences in the environmental sector. And I was bouncing around. I was still undeclared. I hadn't declared my major. I wasn't entirely sure what I was doing. I ended up taking quite a few intro to geology courses, and I loved it. I absolutely loved geology. It's not something I had even heard tell of in high school. We didn't have a geology course in my high school. But when I got there and we started going on field trips and looking at these big outcrops and talking about how our planet formed, all of that stuff definitely caught my attention, and I found my passion in university. And so since then, since going through that program and graduating with my degree, I ended up with a degree in geology and physical geography. I immediately moved out to Saskatchewan, where I got a job right away, and I was working on mineral exploration. So I was in the uranium exploration industry for a long time. And then from there, I got into gold exploration. I traveled all across Canada to some very remote locations. You can see in some of these pictures on my slides, there's me with the guys in Namibia on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, there's some pictures from Northern Canada up in the tundra with helicopter-supported jobs, and then Northern Ontario at a drill rig. So I have had a cool career in that sense. I've gotten to spend a lot of time outside doing what I love, studying the planet, studying how things work and how things come together, and searching for shiny metals, which is always fun. So I had a blast doing all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity came up at the college. And I was, looking at moving back to New Brunswick, and I had seen this job posting, and I thought, I'm going to apply for that and see what happens. And 10 years later, here I am still at the college, absolutely loving it. Now I have this really nice mix of I get to take my students outside. We do all kinds of field work, and we're looking at how rivers work and studying the quality of the water in rivers. And then we also go in the classroom and look at kind of the big picture and have more of the detailed sciences behind it. And so it's been a really nice blend of my love for the outdoors and that part of my career, and being in the classroom and talking about the theory behind it all. And I guess that's my story. That's how I became, how I got to be where I am now. But I think the key for this in today's day, to tie into what Kasey was saying, and even what as some of the others were saying, is this idea with engineering and sciences of all the different career options out there, career options that you guys don't even know exist, that most of the general public don't even know exist. And in the engineering and science sectors, I mean, these are careers that might not even exist yet, but they're constantly evolving. There's so many options out there. And so if you're really not sure what your passion is, but you excel in math and science, absolutely jump into university, or even jump into one of the engineering technology programs at the college. And then you can start to develop what your passions actually are. You might not know yet, but as you work through some different courses, you will start to see it. And I think that's kind of the takeaway here, that don't stress too much right now about a passion, and just jump in, get your feet wet. And I think you'll end up finding your way. That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Adam, do we have any questions?
Yeah, so I just posted a little something in the chat room there, and if there is any teachers or students currently in any of their classrooms that have any questions, you feel free you can type them in the chat box. I can take a look there. Or if you want to turn a microphone and/or camera on, you're welcome to do that as well. Sometimes our students are a little shy first thing in the morning. Take a look here. Just leave it open for a second or two. Okay. Other than that, it looks like pretty quiet across the board, but that's okay. So I definitely would like to take the time to thank all of you for taking your time today to come and speak to our students in New Brunswick. Really important topic, and it's great to see it and hear from the people that are out in the workforce doing it. So we thank you to our partners at NBCC. So Kasey and Tara and Sarah and Saba, thank you so much. And I think we're ready to transition to our next speaker, who I think has already joined us. So what I'm going to do really quickly, I'm going to turn my recording off for a second.